Welcome to the Tow Business Podcast, your number one source for information on training, safety, business management, and everything in between. There's no business like tow business. Here's your hosts, Jeff and Brad.
Hey, welcome to Tow Business Podcast. This is episode 43. Got Brad here. Brad, what's going on?
Not a whole lot going on in the industry right now that I know of. August 18th.
Everything's back to normal.
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
We're all making money and everything's good. A lot of the same. COVID's still hanging around. Insurance companies are bailing on us, not writing towing policies anymore. And drivers are getting struck. So everything's about the same since March. The summit is August 18th. So by the time this comes out, you still got a few days. Notice there you can get signed up. Should be very good information. It always has been. I wouldn't think this year would be any different, even though it's virtual. So get signed up for that. You can do it right there on your couch. So there's no reason not to.
Keep in mind, we need to continue to support this, even though it may not be the ideal situation. We don't get to go to DC or Nashville and party with our friends. I mean, the fact that they are putting this together in such short notice, the best they can, we really need. If you were going to go to the in-person one, please support this one. We've got to show them that we appreciate the hard work they're doing to get this done.
Yeah, I think the days of the traditional tow show are over. I hate to be the black cloud and the pessimist, but I just don't see things ever going back to how they were with tow shows, the amount of tow shows. There'll still be a couple probably, but man, I think the summit is going to just continue to prove to be even more and more important as the years go on. So we need to make sure that keeps going. There's still a lot of training out there. Like I said, if you can't find training, it's your fault. I think I said that last time. Still the same. If you need help, let us know. But if you can't find it, you're not looking very hard.
Yep.
Other than that, this show, probably something we should have done a long time ago. It's very rooted into the core of the industry. There's nothing more important than the history of towing, especially in America. So we're going to hear a lot about the museum, the Survivor Fund, everything they've got going on, what they do, why we need to support it, how we can support it, all of that, which we'll get into. But real quick, we keep getting a lot of suggestions about people like when we just talk. Jeff and I talk. Sometimes it leaks over and it's not even relevant to the towing industry. People like to get to know us a little bit more on a personal level. They hear our voice all the time, every other week, but they don't know much about us other than all the rants we go on in regards to towing. So we're going to start doing a couple things every show, just kind of what's good with us, what something positive we like right now. It can be food, music, books, alcohol, anything, just something we can talk about real quick to get the focus off towing for a little bit before we get into the meat and potatoes here of the episode. So, Jeff, what's good in your life right now?
I am proud to announce my first travel trip of 2020.
All right.
Yeah, I leave first thing in the morning for Boone, North Carolina on a mountain biking trip. There's two ski areas right by Boone. They run lift service with you and your bike to the summit of the ski area, and then you try to make it to the bottom without breaking stuff.
You'll make it to the bottom. I guarantee you'll make it to the bottom.
I'll just keep rolling. But, they're showing 60% chance of rain every day. The mountains stay open even if it rains, as long as there's no lightning. But it's looking like it'll be a 2020 trip. It'll be exactly what you expect out of 2020 for your big first trip of the year. Normally I piggyback a week in Key West on top of or after the Florida Tow Show. that was obviously had to be canceled. And then normally at least once by this time of the year, I get up to my parents up in northern Vermont, right there on the Quebec border. That's a lot of fun. I normally do like a big New England loop, New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, all that. That got squashed this year so far. Hopefully I'll be able to do something in the fall, but man, by the time you get up there in the fall, there's not a lot to do. It cools down a lot quicker than it does here, obviously. And everything's seasonal, everything shuts down, but it's still nice to get up there and get out in the mountains and see all that good stuff. So
where's Boone in relation to the state?
Boone is kind of northeast of Asheville. So kind of pretty much dead center. A lot of mountains, a lot of good outdoor attractions up there. So I guess I'll bring my umbrella and try to enjoy them the best I can. How about you?
Well, that's a good place to be stuck. A lot of good beer around there. So
yes, it is.
I wouldn't fret too much.
No. Got anything going on?
Not a whole lot. I have a 6-week-old. Which I don't even know that if we've talked about that on here, but my wife gave birth to a little boy about 6 weeks ago. So we don't exactly get out like we used to. So I've been doing a lot of home drinking, which we haven't done any of these episodes at home lately. So you probably haven't seen it on the videos, but I love bourbon. I have picked up a habit of flipping bourbon, buying and trading, finding very hard to find bourbon. In Ohio, Ohio is a bourbon ghost land. We don't get good bourbon. We're so close to Kentucky, but the state, of course, has to get involved, and they make everything harder than it has to be. So we don't get a lot of good bourbon here. But I have found the best bourbon I've ever drank in my life. It's Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye. I'm a rye bourbon or a rye whiskey guy. And it's phenomenal. So if there's any bourbon lovers out there, if you can get your paws on that and you can score an extra one, let me know. It is phenomenal. And that's about it. There's a lot of good going on right now. I've been spending a lot of time outdoors and with the kids and doing things, still living the COVID lifestyle a little bit. Things are somewhat coming open here, but still a lot of masks involved, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I don't go to the gym like I used to, work out at home. I got a TRX. I don't know if you know what that is, but a TRX is a suspension trainer, where it turns all your exercises into body weight exercises, basically, and just hangs from the ceiling or in the door frame.
Oh, wow.
Which is very cool. So if you're looking for a way to get a quick workout in at home, look up a TRX, or they make generic ones. TRX is the brand name, but it's a suspension trainer. But that's all I got right now. So hopefully everybody's blown away by all that good information.
I'll have to check that out. What I've found since I really got back into mountain biking hard is, the bottom half of you gets really in shape. And the top half of you just not so much. So as you can
the TRX is great.
Good. I'll check that out. I've never heard of it. But so we've got a few guests that are coming on, and they're going to speak about the museum, towing museum, and the Survivor Fund and other functions that they have to do with.
Real quick before we break, just another thank you. We try to say thank you every episode, but we are very appreciative to everyone that listens. We have passed another milestone, 33,000 listeners, so we'll keep climbing. It keeps growing. The spikes get bigger and longer, so there's more people discovering us. So we appreciate everyone that likes, shares, comments, helps get the word out. I know there's still a big chunk of the industry we're not reaching. We're going to figure out a way to do that. But thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to Tracker. Thank you to Miller. Thank you to Auto Data Direct for their support. And we will be right back.
Hey, we are back. And this episode, we're going to discuss the International Towing and Recovery Museum, the Survivor Fund, as well as the Hall of Fame. And we've got 3 great guests here, and they're going to make the rounds and do a quick intro and let you know who they are and why they're here. Kathy?
Yeah, my name is Kathy Brumgard, and I am the general manager at the International Towing Museum. I have been with the museum now for 4 years, general manager for 2, and I absolutely love this place. I have no background with the industry. However, I do have a strong background with retail and gift, and it just seemed like a really good natural fit. And we're just running with that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Great. I'm Jeffrey Godwin, and
All right, who's got the phone ringing?
somebody's ringing.
Let's do that again, Jeff.
I'm Jeffrey Godwin. I currently serve as the first vice president of the museum. I'm also co-chair of the Survivor Fund and the Wall of the Fallen Committee. I have been in a chair role for the Survivor Fund and/or the Wall of the Fallen since it was inception in 2005. I've been in the industry for 27 years and have kind of served in all capacities across the industry as a tower, as a dispatcher, operating various businesses across the industry. Currently work for FleetNet America as a vice president of software solutions and president of FTI Groups that supplies your ecosystem and tow partners.
Very nice. Thank you for being on here. And the next guest is actually his second time on the show. If you've been listening to for a while, last year at the Tow Summit, he helped us out. We went head to head with Mike Matisic with OOIDA. That was an interesting show. If you're looking for a very interesting show to go back and listen to, check that one out because that is definitely at the top of our lists. Tom?
Well, good afternoon, Jeff, and good afternoon, Brad. First of all, I want to say thank you to both of you guys for allowing the three of us the opportunity to get on here and talk a little bit about the subjects we're going to discuss today and our passion for the industry and what we do and what it's all about. Without you guys helping promote it, every little bit matters, and I'm sure Kathy agrees with that. So, geez, I've been in the industry for over 38 years now. Jack of all trades, I guess. I like to remind my guys that there's nothing they can do that I can't do as well, just to keep them on their toes. But I've kind of been in all different positions. The senior vice president for United Road Towing, which is the world's largest towing company currently. My mom always said I had a face for radio. That's a good thing, I guess, for today. I've been on the board of the Tow and Recovery Association of America, the NETC, the TRPC. I was fortunate enough to be inducted in the Hall of Fame back in 2008 with a great group of individuals. I like to think it's the best class that ever got in there. And I currently serve as the treasurer for the International Tow and Recovery Hall of Fame and Museum, as well as a committee member of the Survivor Fund and the Wall of the Fallen. And if you've ever been to either ceremony, you're probably familiar with my voice and what I do. But we work as a team, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, this show, actually, I just want to mention, we asked for show suggestions a while back, and Tom actually reached out and mentioned, how about something about the museum and everything it does? And we immediately obviously thought it was a great idea, but plans kept being put off because of this little virus thing you may have heard of, and it just kind of screwed up everybody's plans for quite a while. So we're just finally getting back around to doing the ones that we really wanted to do. We got sidetracked for a little while, but thanks for the suggestion, and I think this is going to be a very important show because I think there's probably a lot of people that don't realize all that goes into this and all of the functions of the museum in total. So Kathy, can you maybe get us rolling on the history, the mission, all that good stuff?
Sure. The Towing Museum really started back in '86 with the Friends of Towing. They would put memorabilia in the back of a tractor trailer and drag it around the country to tow shows, open it up, let people go through. And I guess after many years of doing that, they decided that the collection needed a permanent home. So they ended up here in Chattanooga, and they chose Chattanooga because of the fact that the tow truck was invented in Chattanooga, which a lot of people don't realize, especially the people that live here in Chattanooga, do not realize that. And every time they come into the museum, they are blown away that it's local history. And it really is such a great place. We've been at this location for 15 years now, and it has seen changes, and it is really moving forward right now and looking really great. It's, we're here to really to record and preserve the history and the heritage of the industry. That is the mission statement of the museum, and just to preserve the valuable contributions that towers have made in the industry. Of course, with the Hall of Fame and the Wall of the Fallen, we serve multi-purpose here. It's just a great place. One of the questions was, what does it do for the industry? And really what it does for the industry, in my opinion, when I see people coming in and I talk to them, it's a place that they know that is set aside just for them and to honor their industry. And they're excited to be here. It's on everybody's bucket list. That's what we hear all the time. I've got this on my bucket list. And they'll come in and they're just so excited to be here, and just to see what the museum does for them is really exciting. I think that they're proud of their industry, they're proud of what they do, and they're proud that this museum is here for them. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. We see a lot of pride in these tours that come through.
Something that always makes me smile is when, obviously Chattanooga is a destination for a lot of travelers and vacations and everything. And I love it when an old friend of mine or something calls me and says, "Hey man, I'm in Chattanooga. Did you know there's a towing and recovery museum here?" And like, yeah, I've been here a few times, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
If anybody's in town, outside of the traditional fall tow show that normally happens, do they need to schedule a time to go through it, or can they pop in? What's the accessibility of the museum?
The museum is here we're open Monday through Sunday all week. Monday through Saturday, 9 in the morning till 5 at night. Sundays 11 until 5. Easy to get to. We have killer parking, so if you come with your motorhome, you can just pull in the side lot. It's just an easy place to come to. And right now with the whole COVID thing, of course we have a mask requirement, but we're not overly crowded at any time. So we're hearing that people are coming because it's a good, safe place to come to.
So when it comes to supporting, I mean, obviously it doesn't just happen without generosity and donations and everything. So where does that come from? Where really, how did it get started in that respect, where it finally became a permanent location? I remember the old one up by the aquarium. I've actually got a picture of my son when he's 26 now. He was probably 5 or 6, sitting on the tow truck bench out in front of the old museum, which I think is pretty cool. If I dug hard enough, I could probably find an updated one of him on the same bench in front of the new one. So how does it all come about, and how can, even more importantly, how can more people contribute? What's the best way to contribute to the museum?
Well, really the best way to contribute would be to become a member. There seems to be a little bit of conversation out there that we're owned by certain people, and we are not. We're a nonprofit, and we are owned by the members. And the membership is what really supports the museum, keeps the lights on, keeps us going. And it's interesting that out of all of the tow companies in this nation, we're not heavily supported by a lot of them. And I think a lot of that is that people don't know about us. They might hear something, but they're not sure. We have a great website that they can go to. They can even join on the website, or they can always call us. We'd be glad to get them signed up. We've got different levels of membership. and it's a yearly renewal, so it just continues to go on, and it just supports the museum. It supports the mission of the museum. It keeps us here so that we can keep doing what we do for the industry.
Yeah.
If I could just touch base, I think Kathy's done a great job doing that, but and she's done an incredible job in the last few years that we brought her aboard and changed the structure from an executive director to a general manager per se of the museum, and the renovations that we've done and all the creativeness that she's put into the gift shop and things that she's had some people help her, of course, but it's just been a tremendous job, and people go there now and they're really overcome by what the museum has become. But let me take you back a little bit to the history of it, Jeff, because I think that's what you were looking for. And unfortunately, I was involved with that somewhat for some time, as I've been on the executive board for 12 years now. And Jeffrey has been involved as well. So there's some things I may not cover that he may want to add. But the museum wasn't always as financially sound as it is right now. We struggled through some very difficult times. We had some incredible founders and trustees that worked very hard day and night, tirelessly on the building that we're presently housed in, as well as the former building, to get us to where we are, to build a foundation for our success and what we've created today, and to house the Wall of the Fallen and the memorials that we do, and to have the ceremonies and events that we have there now. It's just tremendous. Some of those individuals, there's so many I could recognize or name, but they know who they are, and they were spectacular contributors to the original foundation and founding of the museum, from Friends of Towing on up. We had some incredible financial contributions that made the museum not financially successful, but financially we were stable and on stable footing. We had some support, and I think what Kathy got to is a lot of people think that because we're housed in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that we're affiliated with Miller Industries, and that's not the case. Miller Industries is an enormous contributor to the museum, as is Jared Ann and others that are involved throughout the industry, and we certainly welcome all of the support of all of the distributors and manufacturers to house their products and showcase what they've built for the industry over the years and how technology has been created. But we're housed in Chattanooga, Tennessee, because that was the birthplace of the tow truck. And when Ernest Holmes created it, that's where it began, and that's where towing began, and that's the reason why we're housed in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We were very fortunate to have the Miller Family Foundation step up, which is nothing to do with Miller Industries, but is a charitable foundation that's run by Will Miller and his father, Bill Miller, and they helped pay off the mortgage for the museum, and also donated close to $1 million to fund the creation of the Wall of the Fallen and statue out in front of the museum. And that was a tremendous contribution, and we can't thank them enough for what they did to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice in the industry. But that put us on strong footing. There was a time, Jeff, and I'm sure you can relate to this, having started in business yourself, and I should say this, geez, Jeff, I grew up in Connecticut, and actually remember going to Breezy Point when I was 16 years old, and probably almost ran you over in a parking lot one day. Wow. I used to go there and get parts all the time for a GMC flatbed. It was a Chevron distributor, if I'm not mistaken. But, there was a time when we couldn't pay the power bill at the museum, and we had tremendous members would step up, and our meetings generally were derived from members sitting around a table and going, I pledge $500. Who's going to match me? And another guy would give $500. And at the end of the meeting, we had 5,000, and we were able to stay open for another 2 months. And that's how the museum began. Well, let me fast forward to where we are today. And through a lot of fundraising and a lot of contributions and support from across the industry, from manufacturers and others that are interested in preserving the heritage in the history of the industry, the museum currently has on its own, Survivor Fund aside, investment fund of close to $1 million earmarked for expansion of the museum down the road. And we're fortunate enough now to be able to pay our bills, and we don't have any debt, and things are rolling along, and we're doing very well in the gift shop. We've seen tremendous growth in sales in the gift shop. Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, last year was like 80% growth or something, or maybe even higher than that.
Wow. Yeah, that's close.
In gift shop sales. And she should mention too, and I'll let her come back to that, but we have a website, and our products and gifts are available for purchase through the website and things like that for people. We have some great t-shirts and cups and mugs and hats and all that kind of stuff for the kids, stuff for ladies, stuff for the guys, just really cool stuff, trinkets to put around your office and things like that are kind of neat. But we've created a financially sound product to carry on for several years going forward, and I'm very happy to have been part of that, as is Bill Graziano, our current president, Troy Barnett, our president before that, and others that have been involved in the board along the way, George Conley, et cetera, et cetera. Just huge contributors to the success of the museum.
Do you remember back at the original building, every time I visited, there was an older gentleman there. He was there every time I went there.
Frank Thomas.
He just seemed to know everything about everything in that building. He was so interesting to talk to. I don't know that I ever saw him after the transition to the new building. I don't know if he continued past that point or not, but I dragged one of my girlfriends up there one time, and of course she's, why do I want to go to a towing museum? She goes in and listens to him for about an hour, walk around the place, and she came out of there and said, "We're coming back next time." I loved listening to that old man. He's such a cute old guy, and everything he had to say was so interesting. So it's not just for towers. I had a friend that was in a Model A club, and they were doing like a tour. Their whole club was going up, and one of their stops was in Chattanooga, and I suggested that they stop, and they had just tremendous feedback from their trip to the museum, and they loved it. I mean, they're Model A guys, so they love any old mechanical anything, and when they walked in and saw the trucks and the jacks and all that stuff in there, they were in heaven. So this has so much appeal outside of our industry. There's so many reasons to go to this, not just because you're a tow truck driver and you want to see more tow trucks. There's something here for just about everybody.
Yeah, I mean, let me just say, I'm looking at Kathy's report real quick here, but just last weekend, we had over 143 admissions at the museum last week, and that's just visitors, and they're not all towers. And it's kind of neat to see the people come in and enjoy the museum, and kids really enjoy it. They love the toy tow trucks that are around. They love the tater tot, which is a rotator, a golf cart that's made into a rotator that was custom made by Barnett's Towing out in Arizona. And they love to play with it. They can move it. They can interact with it. And Kathy's done a lot to create some activities for them to be able to do that. We've kind of reinvented the theater there. When you walk in, you see a movie, a short film about the history of the museum and the towing and things like that. And it's just some really cool stuff to see, whether or not you're from the industry or not. If you're a car buff, it's just kind of neat to walk around.
I think it's great for some of the younger guys in the industry to get down there, see how far things have come, hydraulics and everything, and how the job has changed and what the challenges are and how much easier things are today and different, the technicality of the equipment, the complexity, I guess. How complex the equipment is, and with the technology and the computers and everything. So if you haven't, at some point in your career, you need to get down there, whether it coincides with the tow show or not. Obviously, you just heard they're there 7 days a week. So make it a point, whether you're traveling on a family vacation or a road trip, on a long haul, find a way to get there.
Yeah, and I also want to say, how many, just about everybody working for us at Southside, I don't know there's a person other than me that ever ran a non-hydraulic tow truck. And there's so many, there's so many egos in our industry, and everybody wants to think they're Superman. Go back and run one of those, and at the end of the day, think you're Superman, because it was work.
You should
That's,
get the
that's right.
What's
I
that,
can
Jeff?
remember running that weld built on the back of a GMC, Jeff. That's how I grew up. And these guys are out here complaining about their wheel lift is slow and their boom doesn't lift fast enough and things like that. Give me a break, guys. We used to have to use chains and levers. That's how we worked it.
Air free spool? What? But yeah. So that's good. And once again, man, if you're anywhere near Chattanooga, you got to get by there. I'm going to toss it over to Tom. He wants to wrap up the museum talk, and then we're going to move on to the other subjects. Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple of things, Jeff. I'll kick it over to Kathy here in a minute, and she can cover our website address for everybody to jot down. It's at home, and hopefully you're not driving down the road when you do this. You can come back and listen to it later and jot that down. But we also have some new attractions at the museum that we've added over the last couple of years, and there's been a lot of renovations at the museum. So if you went 5 years ago, if you went 10 years ago, you're going to find a whole new different place when you walk through the door now. And I want to say this, that when COVID came around, the museum staff did a great job working. We made the difficult decision to shutter the museum for about a month, and Kathy and her staff worked hard to take care of our membership. But we're back open. We're in safety protocols, and we love to have visitors stop by. We have ample parking in the back for motorhomes, tractor trailers, heavy duties, trucks, all kinds of things like that. Those are questions that we see on Facebook a lot, because people are passing through in trucks, and we have plenty of parking in the back to take care of you. But I want to have Kathy talk a little bit about a couple of new exhibits that we have, particularly the Indian, and maybe cover the website, Kathy, if you could.
Sure. Yeah, we just brought in about a month ago a 1942 Indian tow motorcycle. It's a really cool piece. It was used, it's got an interesting little history to it, primarily in the 40s. And if a car needed to have its oil changed, the driver would get on the motorcycle, he would go out to the person's house, he would then get in the car, or he'd hook up the motorcycle to the back of the car first, then he'd get in it, and he would drive it back to the shop, change the oil. It was just a way of getting back and forth. But this is a fully restored piece. A gentleman that lives here in Cookeville, Tennessee, he owns it, and we've been trying to get a hold of it for about 3 years, and he finally was ready to bring it over. So that's on display. We also have a totally pink tow truck that gets a lot of attention. We just have some really cool exhibits going on, and
I just want to cover, Kathy, too, that anybody that loans something to the museum for display can take that as a tax deduction and a credit. We are a 501c3, probably the only true charitable organization you're going to find within our industry, 100% tax deductible. So there are credits and things like that. If you make a donation to the museum and you donate your equipment and want it on display in the museum, and there's ways to go about that and artifacts and things like that can be donated. Kathy can help you with a tax write-off form and what the value is on that. But even things that are on loan, you can work an agreement for, we take things on loan. So say you don't want to donate it to the museum, which we love to have and appreciate forever because it keeps us afoot. But even if you just want to loan it to the museum, like right now we have the Ernest Holmes replica tow truck on display there. That's on loan for a couple of years. And it's a tremendous piece of equipment. Everybody loves it when they come in the door. It's the birth of towing and what it means. And you want to talk about a hard truck to work, that's a hard truck to have to work. But that's where it all started. And it's kind of neat to have that piece on display there. Really neat to have that piece. So we certainly welcome donations and things like that. We do say that anything that's going to be displayed has to be fully renovated. We're not in the renovation business.
Now, there's also, I think we briefly talked about the website, but the gift shop, I'm scrolling through here right now. There's all kinds of stuff on here. I hadn't looked at it in a while. So if you're looking, towers love gear. So if you're looking for some clothing, coffee mugs, decoration, everything. Definitely
What's that
check out.
address? What's that address, Kathy?
Towingmuseum.com. Take you right to it.
You don't even need to jot it down.
No. You can always call us at 423-267-3132, or you can call me direct at 423-803-4704, and we'd be glad to help you with anything we have in there.
Yeah, and just something I've done a couple times when I'm there, I'll grab a bunch of extra shirts and bring them back. The guys always love tow truck shirts, so maybe you could have like a pop-up cleanest truck contest or something, and the top 3 guys you toss a t-shirt to. So grab some extra. Don't just grab a shirt for yourself. Make sure you grab some extras while you're there.
Yeah, I'm eyeballing these whiskey glasses right now as we speak.
We just got, I don't know if you can see it. We just got these really neat pillows. I don't know if you can see them back here. They're hand-hooked pillows done exclusively for us. They are on the website. However, you do need to call us to place the order because of the shipping is a little bit odd on these. But we've got rugs that match them, really cool pieces that we've done, things that are exclusive to the museum.
It's just done an incredible, Kathy, hats off to you. You've done an incredible job in the gift shop and the uptick. I know we get messages on our Facebook page all the time. Do we sell bog bags? Now, I don't know what a bog bag is. I'm not a bog guy, but
Jeffrey can tell you.
They
want them.
sell like crazy.
People want them, and we're always sold out of them. It's unbelievable.
What are they?
They're beach bags that look like a croc shoe. I mean, it's that material, but they took off this year. We happen to have a really great stock of them, and I have an Instagram page, and I happen to put up a picture of the tow bench out front with bog bags on it, and boy, the phone blew up. And we had calls from across the country, one as far as Alaska. She wanted us to send her one. Shipping was going to be too much, but at least she called, but yeah, it's just an interesting piece. We've got several more on order, but we're just waiting for our orders to come in.
I guess that'll be our next giveaway, the bog bag.
Yeah, there you go.
The last
you might prefer to sell them on eBay. They're going way above retail right now.
No, we don't. We're towers. We don't like to make profit here.
The last thing that I'll cover on the museum side, and I promise it's the last thing, but when COVID is over, we have a learning center in the basement that we've had for some time, and we rent out. It has a full catering kitchen down there and things like that. But we've hosted events for political parties and local chambers of commerce and things like that down in our learning center. It's available for rent. We've done company meetings. We've done towing association board meetings in our conference room. I know for Georgia and for Tennessee, for other places. And it's a kind of a neat venue. If I know I've done our maintenance meeting for all our shop managers from across the country there one time, and they enjoyed it. They got to look around and see the facility and trinkets and things like that, and peter around with the trucks. But that's available and not expensive. We're very cheap. You can talk to Kathy about that by calling the museum at any time if it's something that interests you. Once we're able to host some people there, it'll be it's a phenomenal venue.
Very nice. All right, Brad, you want to take us into the Survivor Fund and Wall of the Fallen discussion?
Yeah, we can change gears a little bit. Get into the Survivor Fund. It's something that's there, and unfortunately, it's necessary, and it gets used far too much. And that's a topic for another day that we all are very well aware of. But why don't we get into discussion on how this fund came about? And obviously we know why, but the purpose behind it and how it all works. I'm not sure who wants to take that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think that, certainly the tragedies that occur in the industry where the reason to bring about the fund and a way to take care of families. There were a few little efforts going on in the industry years ago, and looking at those, it seemed like there needed to be something uniform in place, and something that we could make perpetual and belong to the industry. So in 2005, we started the Survivor Fund. Same time the wall was being built. So those two things came about at the same time, and began raising some money. And we were raising money selling the little blue bracelets, and we were raising money from corporate donors and trying to get things together so that we could have some good structure to a benevolent organization, for lack of a better word. So we ended up beginning in 2006, maybe early 7, providing a death benefit to families in the form of a financial gift. It's a flat amount, and it started at $500. We certainly are not at a place where we pay out on every claim, kind of like we were talking about earlier with people who don't know the museum exists. There's a lot of folks in our industry that don't know, and so they don't know about the Survivor Fund or the wall. Sometimes there's other obstacles to getting money to families, but in general, the committee, and right now there's 9 of us on the committee, and the country is divided up into regions, as well as we have a representative on the committee who handles international claims. And we reach out to those companies proactively and say, hey, we know you had this tragedy. We've got a few ways we can help. And we don't reach out to the families. We reach out to the company to contact the family, because typically we reach out in the first 24 hours. We let the company know that we can put the owner in contact with somebody who's been through this, somebody who is experienced in dealing with their situation, not for legal advice, and we certainly have all the right disclaimers in place, but something to just help navigate that process, or at least give the owner who's going through that challenging time a good listening ear for them to vent if they need to, or whatever's going on. And we look to provide some more support like that in the future for the others involved, the families, for the employees. I mean, there's certainly a lot of stress around going back to work right after one of those tragedies. So, but as the fund evolved over the years, we've been able to increase that gift. And so we started at that $500 level. And I know that for the first few years, we just kind of looked at where our finances were and made some decisions. And then, Tom, you say the policy was what, 4 years ago, maybe? Yeah, we created a policy that, based on our income each year, our outlay each year, how our investments are doing, those kinds of things. There's a formula that tells us what we need to make that gift the following year. And part of that formula is to make sure that the fund does stay perpetual. And so we want to protect the core of the fund and still be able to support families. We're not here to be life insurance, but at the same time, the folks that are out there serving the motoring public and die in the line of service are often the only breadwinner in the house. They typically have multiple children, and so we look for ways to help. And so very proud of what we've done over the years. We are currently at a $7,500 death benefit, and for companies that are members of the museum, it's $9,500. So there's an extra $2,000 benefit right there in being a museum member. But don't like writing those checks, but very pleased that we're able to do that in the time of need for those families.
If I could add just for a second, currently you asked earlier about how the museum started and things like that. And Kathy mentioned, it's owned by the membership. It really is. it's for the industry. And it amazes me that currently we have about 530 members at the museum. I think at our high point, we were around 725, somewhere around there. And we fluctuate back and forth in where we are in paid memberships and things like that. We have tremendous support from manufacturers and stuff, but it amazes me that in over a $7 billion industry across the country and as many towers as there are, that we only have 520 members. And it's only $150 for a membership a year, Kathy, correct me now? And you know, one of the biggest benefits of that membership is what Jeffrey just mentioned. God forbid you ever had to enact it, but unfortunately we see about 50, 60 tragic incidents a year. And people do enact it, and we see that $2,000 additional death benefit means a lot, because unfortunately in this industry, and I've been unfortunate enough to have 3 names of employees that are on the wall that have fallen. These employees, you know, you can pay them $1,500 a week, $2,000 a week, whatever it is. They live paycheck to paycheck on a weekly basis. That's just the truth about our industry and who the majority of our operators are. And a lot of them have several dependents underneath them, maybe even several wives and girlfriends or fiancés and all kinds of stuff. It gets a little complicated sometimes at the Wall of the Fallen ceremony, but it is a tremendous benefit to have that in your pocket. And I just don't understand why every towing company in the country is not a member of the museum for $150 a year, just to have that $9,500 death benefit for every employee that works for them.
So does the money strictly come routed through the museum, or is there additional fundraising for the Survivor Fund itself?
The Survivor Fund is specifically separate. We are part of the same 501c3, so it's all fully tax deductible. But we raise money separately from the museum, and we account for that money separately from the museum, and it's governed by a different set of policies and rules on how we distribute those funds.
So what is the best way for people to contribute to?
Again, towingmuseum.com is certainly a place you can go and make donations. But I don't know that, you know, you can go to PayPal me/Survivor Fund and give money there. You can mail checks to the museum. If you call me, I'll figure out a way to take Bitcoin, Venmo, you name it, we'll figure it out. Because we certainly live by donations, and any and every little bit helps. You know, I mentioned the blue bracelets earlier. Those started out that we sold them for $2, and that's what got this started. And we still get gifts of that size, and it's meaningful. It all adds to what we're able to do for the families. So anything's appreciated, and if you can't figure out a way to give, please reach out to the one of 3 of us, because I know we will figure it out.
Okay.
Well, one thing that I want to cover for Jeffrey that I think you missed, Jeffrey, is a few years ago, Jeffrey had a brainchild, and he's been our Survivor Fund committee chairman since the Survivor Fund began. Hats off to him, because it's not an easy job, but I'm sure he appreciates all the pay he gets.
As well. I even my salary got doubled last year.
Remind me, Kathy, to give him a raise. But he started something called the Pledge, and the Pledge is one of the easiest ways to contribute. And what the Pledge is you can pledge $25 time. And if an operator, is there a tragic incident, an operator succumbs to his injuries, he's approved for the Survivor Fund benefits, Jeffrey sends out an email, and it's 25. If your pledge is $25, $50, $100, whatever it may be, boom, we can hit your credit card by PayPal and come in, and that's raised, correct me if I'm wrong, and don't forgive me on my math, Jeffrey, about $3,000 every time there's a death benefit. It helps offset the funds that we're dispersing and putting out. And that's really what it's all about as we continue to grow. When we first started this, the death benefit was originally $500, I think, Jeffrey, right?
Yes.
$500. And what our goal was on the committee and the Survivor Fund Committee was to make it a meaningful contribution back to the surviving family members of the person who gave the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And we've grown it to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, etc. And now it's close to what I would say is meaningful. Within 48 hours of filling out the paperwork and submitting a request, the committee can vote and approve for Wall of the Fallen status and Survivor Fund status. And the only difference between the two is if the party succumbed of natural causes or not. And as long as it's a qualifying event, meaning it happened in the line of duty and wasn't due to negligence, such as erratic driving or something to that factor, the committee votes by email, and within 48 hours, Kathy and Jeffrey get a check out to the family for $7,500 or $9,500, depending if they're a member of the museum. And that the thanks and the accolades that we receive back, and how meaningful it is to those family members to be able to cover the internment costs or things that they didn't have insurance. You'd be flabbergasted. Well, I suppose you wouldn't, because you guys do this all the time. How many towing companies across the country don't have health benefits for their employees, and they don't have insurance, and they don't have things like this? And I don't understand it, and I can't get my hands around a lot of times, but to have that check come in, just if it pays the mortgage and keeps the lights on or whatever for the family as they go through their tragic time, is really what our goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that pledge drive is something that we use to replenish the funds that we pay out. And the way it works is not only do you sign up and you say, hey, I can give $10 or $5 or $50 every time a tower gets killed in the line of service, but when that event occurs, after the voting has taken place, after we send a check, we write up a little bit of information, kind of the sanitized version, if you will, of what took place. And we send that out to all the people in the pledge drive and say, hey, here's somebody who lost his life on the side of the road. Here's what happened. And the Survivor Fund has already engaged in taking care of the family. Your pledge was to give $20 each time this occurred. Please submit your $20 to help us recoup some of the funds we're giving out. And as Tom mentioned, you know, we've had that as high as 3,000. I think it's a little lower now. Some people drop out. I've also heard from people that they just can't deal with the volume that comes through. And unfortunately, that's what we're faced with, because we lose folks all the time. We lost 2 weeks before last. We lost a gentleman last week. And, you know, as much as we'd like to think it'll stop, it's not stopping. But this is a short-term gift for the families. You know, we're not looking, like I say, to be life insurance, but it does bridge a gap. And I was just looking, I got a thank you card that came in the last couple of days. I mean, they come constantly. And we've had families who have given back to the Survivor Fund after the fact because they want to help what we're doing. They believe in this mission. And so something it's really good to hear that the work we're doing is beneficial to those families in their time of need.
So, good.
I was gonna say it might be. Usually, you guys find out, I would imagine, pretty quickly when something happens. But if not, what should an owner do, or maybe even a family member? How should they contact you if they haven't been contacted and it's been a few days?
Certainly, you can go to the towingmuseum.com website and get the forms. They're on the Survivor Fund page. Survivor Fund's a prominent menu item at the top of the page. And they can download those forms. They can fill them out electronically online. One of our committee members is going to reach out if you're a company owner and you've had a death. You can tell the gatekeeper at the front who blocks all of your calls, hey, I'm waiting for one from the museum, because it's going to come. We do hear about these things very quickly. Sometimes it's just a matter of a couple hours. Sometimes it's while the scene is still active. But, you know, with social media being what it is, even the stuff that might slip through that we're not notified of right away, we see very quickly thereafter. And so the regional person is notified as soon as we know about it, and hopefully they reach out to those companies and can provide them what they need.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to add, there's a lot of sites out there that claim to be fundraisers for supporters and GoFundMe's and things like that, that claim to be there for the fallen operators and things like that. The Survivor Fund is the true only fund that is run with bylaws and means, and it's a true 501c3 where 100% of the funds raised go towards supporting the families of fallen operators. We pledge that. We get involved. We're very protective of our logo and rights and needs. There's a process. If you want to do a fundraising event to request the logo and be affiliated, there's a process to go through that and get on board. And we vet where that money's going. And you've got to be able to prove that portion of those proceeds, or if you're going to say that all the profits given are going to go towards the Survivor Fund, we're going to make you prove that. And I would just say be hesitant about where else you give your money to in the days of social media and needs and things like that, because there are a lot of for-profit facilities and sites that are up there on Facebook and other things that try to raise money for the fallen operators.
Absolutely.
Yep. You've got to, I try to assume that all those other sites and those other funds that you see pop up have the best intentions, but I'm always a believer that it's better to focus all the efforts in one place, especially when there's money involved and accountability is absolutely necessary. So really this is really the place. If you want to make a difference, I really believe that this is the place you need to focus your efforts and your donations.
Yeah, 100%. And it just means a tremendous amount to the families, and it's a much needed thing that's out there. And we hope to continue to be able to grow our contributions back to the families as it goes forward.
Yeah, I think if anybody has a need related to the Survivor Fund, or if you want to donate to the Survivor Fund or look at a little bit about how we operate, toymuseum.com will get you there. TheSurvivorFund.com will get you there. And you can find the form on the website. The form works for the fund, it works for the wall, or it works for both, whatever you happen to be applying for. And we keep you informed throughout the process, and we try to make it extremely quick on the Survivor Fund. So thanks to everyone for hearing about the fund today, and we look forward to your support.
And I just want to say something real quick about the Wall of the Fallen. I was there at the dedication. The founder of our company, Southside Wrecker in Atlanta, was one of the first names put on the wall. And to see what it meant to his family, his son and his daughter were there, other family members, to see what it meant to them, it was really incredible. Somebody once made the comment, and it fits so well. It's the only place where you'll go see 100 tough guys break into tears. It's so moving, and it's so memorable every time. I've missed, I believe, one year I missed. It was raining so hard they moved the ceremony inside, and there was only room for family members. So I did miss that one, but it is something to see. You've got to go at least one time. Unfortunately, we're gonna miss it this year. So next year, start making your plans, because if you care about this industry and everybody that's in it, you really need to go. I just wanted to say that is definitely a destination you've got to hit.
I've had the honor of being the master of ceremonies for the Wall of the Fallen ceremony for 10 of the last 12 years, I think, Jeffrey, right? Something like that. Did the first one. I took a year off and took a vacation after that for a year, but I've had the honor, and it truly is the most emotional ceremony that I'm a part of in the industry that I can even think of. And when you say grown men break down and cry, to see these family members come up and just what it means to them as they receive their certificate and their loved one's name is forever memorialized in the wall of the fallen out front there, means so much to them. And it kind of gives a bit of closure to them in the industry. And the wall of the fallen is there for non-museum members and museum members to honor anyone who passed in the line of duty. Much like the law enforcement museum, it has a set of bylaws and requirements and things like that. And it's very well run, and it's a great honor. It's the least we could do for those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, it's tremendous.
Are there photos hanging in the museum of the dedication and stuff like that? Can you kind of see these events through the years? Is there anything there for that?
Kathy, you want to cover that?
Yeah, there is a section. When we redid everything through the past few months, we created a new section just for the Wall of the Fallen. So there's kind of a timeline of where it began and where it is now.
Right.
You can search those names on our website and find
Mhm.
information about those who've been honored on the Wall of the Fallen, as well as there's some videos online, and we're planning to put some more on so you can see a ceremony if you haven't been able to make it to Tennessee. And Tom, I really appreciate you volunteering to be the Master of Ceremonies for the next 10 years. Just wanted to throw that out there.
That's what I heard.
Oh, it's a great paying job. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it truly is. I'm honored that that I'm able to do it and that I'm asked to do it, to give those guys some sense of the recognition they deserve. I mean, it means a lot to me having dealt with it myself personally, but to just take part in it means so much to me for our industry overall, and I just appreciate that honor.
Brad, you want to get us rolling into the Hall of Fame?
Well, speaking of honor, there is a Hall of Fame for our industry, if anyone doesn't know. Normally, the ceremony coincides with the Chattanooga Tow Show every year, if I'm not mistaken. This year is a little different, but I'll let Tom give kind of the history and the how the process works, what the requirements are, and how you can be involved.
Yeah. So the Hall of Fame started with the Friends of Towing in a trailer. That was the original start of the trailer, was the Friends of Towing in their inaugural class and honorees back in about 1986, I want to say, right, Kathy? Something like that. And our current president, Bill Graziano, had the tremendous honor of being able to tow that trailer all over the country from tow show to tow show, which he fully enjoyed and really wishes he could get it back. We've made several attempts over the last few years to be able to get that trailer and renovate it so Bill could tow it once more. But he was unable to come up with the funding to make that happen. But no, that's where it began. And being inducted in the Hall of Fame, I'll speak from my personal experience, is the highest honor one can achieve with our industry, to be recognized by your peers within the industry, or people that aren't your peers, just people that recognize your contributions to the industry and what you've done. And the list of names that are in there are tremendous. From Ernest Holmes, obviously, who invented the tow truck, on down to some of the most widely recognized trainers, the guys that started training, Joe Schroga, those guys, just the guys that invented airbags, some tremendous community people, and it's international. The Towing Museum is an international towing and recovery Hall of Fame museum. It's the only one in the world, and we have international members from all over the world. And how many countries are inducted in the Hall of Fame, Kathy? Do you know?
I believe there are 17.
See, I thought it was 19, but yeah.
19? Okay.
Close. We're close. We'll go with
Just made that
17,
flag.
18, 19, something like that. But from Europe and Spain and just all over the country, and people of all ethnics and background are honored within there, and their contributions are tremendous to oversee. And I've had the fortunate ability to be able to MC that for the last 10 years as well. And to just read these guys' bios is unbelievable. It's not just about being a good tower. There's several guys that are great towers out there and can hook it up and run it down the road. It's about integrity and response and involvement in your community and respect and what you've done as an industry, for the industry accolade, not just for your business, and those that have made the sacrifices on that side to be included. And there's a nomination process every year that opens after our ceremonies, which is normally towards mid to end of September, early October annually. This year it was planned for October, and next year I think it's planned for October as well. And we have about 350 people sell out in a banquet hall room to honor these people. Some of them have, unfortunately, are deceased and had passed earlier and didn't get recognized till afterwards. But there's a nomination process where any member of the museum can nominate a non-member of the museum or a member of the museum for induction into the Hall of Fame and submit it within the time frame that's allowed, which is about the time end October, beginning October through early January, right, Kathy? We extended a little bit this year.
January 31st.
January 31st. And boy, I tell you, and the best thing that I'll tell people is, how do you get into the Hall of Fame? Because we get this question all the time and they think it's a crony process or whatever it is. It is not. It's a day long of meetings by a sworn committee that partakes in reviewing applications and nominations, and it's hashed out within a room for 8 to 12 hours. And at the end of the day, we have normally our nomination size of a nominating group is about 35, 40 candidates. And we end up picking anywhere from, I've seen a group of 5, I've seen a group of 8, 7, 10. We do a maximum of 10 on an annual basis. And the tremendous candidates that are involved. Even if they don't get in the first time, you can nominate them the year after to get in for inclusion of the Hall of Fame. But you have to submit all the documentation again. And a lot of times we get just an application filled out, which isn't very helpful if we don't know the candidate, because there are tremendous individuals out there that we see for the first time that we don't know the background and history about. And if we get the full story, we've had some really great candidates where we've had a 3-inch binder or book that just talks about all they've done for the industry and the tremendous things that they've done in their career, and even before they were involved in the industry, whether it be service to their country or service to their community, being a mayor or a fire chief or things like that, and the sacrifices that they made on that side while they're in business. It's tremendous.
Yeah, or maybe they started a podcast.
Well, I would say this, Brad. Your mentor is inducted in the Hall of Fame, as you know, Mr. Ted During, and quite well deservingly so. And I'm sure he never lets you forget that.
So this question is not related to Brad's last question or statement. Has anyone tried nominating themselves?
I guarantee it.
It was something I was thinking of.
We should have a separate podcast.
Unfortunately, and I'll answer this way, the nominating process is held very confidentially. The candidates are not supposed to know that they've been nominated for the fact that they may not be included that year. It's all done anonymously. It's held behind closed doors, and the voting process comes out. The only ones that find out that they were nominated are the ones that are inducted in the class that year, hopefully. So that's how the process works. It's very structured within our bylaws, and it's taken very, very seriously. So I can't answer that, Jeff, but I'm sure that, we welcome you to nominate yourself at any point. So.
Well, it's really nice to hear that just about everything you all are involved with any of these programs, it seems like there's definitely an emphasis on maintaining the integrity of what you're doing and the trust of everybody involved. So we thank you for that, because that's where a lot of the work comes in, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
That's the most difficult part sometimes. So we thank you for all your efforts there.
Yeah, I think there was at some point previously, and things are done. I'm a firm believer in any of the organizations that I've been involved in over the years, and I've held several board positions, that associations and groups and foundations in the museum should be run like a business with integrity and candor and where you are, and not run as a group and run for our best friends and things like that. And I think the perception that there was some of that early on is founded, that it took place at one point. And we've done our best to make sure that we maintain the integrity of the museum going forward. And to mention that, we've had tremendous candidates, I'm not going to give you names, but tremendous candidates that have been involved in legal or criminal accused activity, I'll say, or things like that, that haven't been put in because the museum doesn't want to have the mud on their face for putting that type of candidate in should their case turn out the wrong way or the unfortunate way, I'll say, things like that. So we'll wait for that to be over. So, but there are tremendous candidates out there that have had that and had the unfortunate circumstance of being involved in that activity.
That pretty much covers it, I would think, for the Hall of Fame. Unless you have anything else.
Yeah, we need to figure out where to circle back and get the auction and event this year, because I think that'll help with some fundraising.
Yeah. So let me.
If you're looking for the more direct answer on people nominating themselves, we can have a separate podcast. We can also talk about that thing that came up earlier about how interesting Wall of the Fallen Morning can be. When you got 6 baby mamas and a couple of biker gangs involved, it gets interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing. Those are good points, Brad. And I think the last thing that I'll cover on the Hall of Fame is every October we have Museum Weekend, and it's now over the last few years it's grown in conjunction with the Tennessee Tow Show that's hosted in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Which is nice to have the two of those events take place together. It gives people a little break to float between one and the other and things like that. But this year we made the very difficult decision, and we held to our guns for a very long time as COVID developed and came forth. But remember, we're honoring a group of people that are generally in their upper ages and elderly and are at high risk for the virus and disease. And with restrictions in place, we felt that it was necessary to do the safe and right decision and postpone our ceremony till 2021, where we'll double up and have a tremendous ceremony, and we're getting even a bigger banquet room. But this year, the way the Museum Weekend is structured is Friday night we have a meet and greet to meet the inductees and honorees for the general public. And in conjunction with that, we hold a fundraising auction, which is incredibly a great amount of fun. And boy, we've had some tremendous auction items, from rifles to handguns to custom-made whiskey barrels to custom-made centerpieces to Landau trailers to heavy-duty, medium-duty tow units, DTUs donated by Miller, tow trucks donated by Jerdan over the last couple of years that have been tremendous auction items and raised a tremendous amount of money for the museum to help support either the Survivor Fund and the Hall of Fame going forward. And we really rely on those donations and the support from the towing associations and industry icons and manufacturers to making that event an extreme success. So we're hoping, look, it's been difficult on everybody's business. I think that's no secret, COVID. It's certainly been difficult on us from a fundraising standpoint and perspective. I don't have the percentages on exactly what we're off fundraising, but I can tell you we are significantly down than from where we would be in past years' trends. But once we come back out of this and people get strong a little bit, anything matters, and anything they can give is much appreciated. And 100% of those proceeds go to benefit the museum or the survivor fund. And 100% of that donation is tax deductible as well at the end of the year, and you'll get a receipt for it. So we have gift baskets and necklaces and bags, and there's just a lot of fun stuff. And we do a silent auction, and then we do a live auction, and it can get pretty competitive in the live auction atmosphere. Towing's not usually known for its egos, but when you get a couple of people bidding in a room with wads of cash, and they do have egos, perhaps it can be fun to watch.
And it can be very beneficial to the financial position of the museum. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for those types of things, we wouldn't be able to weather COVID nearly as well, because we are in a strong financial position. But that doesn't change the fact that we're only funded by donations and need to continue to receive those.
Is there anything special planned for this year? Any kind of virtual fundraiser or virtual auction or anything like that to take place?
We're looking at a few options that may go down that virtual auction path, but nothing of any significance beyond that. We're going to wait to honor inductees and those being honored on the wall. We're going to wait and do that next year at the event.
Yeah, just save your money till next year, Brad. We'll let you buy something. Or maybe you can
tow or save money. That sounds realistic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great event. It's a lot of fun. If you've never been, anybody in the industry, we sell tickets, we have food, we have drinks, lots of drinks because it encourages bidding. But it is a great night. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way to start off the weekend, and a tremendous event. We auctioned off a safe that Ernest Holmes had used a couple of years ago. I mean, we've done some really cool items, guitars signed by country music stars, and, you know, sports memorabilia, and, like I said, custom whiskey barrels from Jack Daniels, who's right there in Tennessee, obviously, and just some really cool things.
Maybe next year we'll live stream our commentary of the auction, and without giving details on who's bidding, we'll commentate and show everybody how much fun it is.
Yeah.
But while we have you guys here, I wanted to kind of change pace. Just a few opinion type questions, just some open dialogue on a few things. Question I have that we talk about quite a bit, and there's nobody better to ask than this panel here. How do we approach slow down, move over as an industry to where it actually might make a difference? Because what we're doing right now is not good enough, obviously. Everybody's trying their own different spin on it, different way to promote it. But as an industry and as a nation, how can we actually get this message out to where it actually makes an impact?
Well, I'll start, and then I'll let Jeffrey give the official response from the Wall of the Fallen and Survivor Fund Committee. But as part of my passion, I've been a longtime supporter of the slow down, move over laws and things that have taken place. And we've done a tremendous job on that across the country. However, I think awareness is number one, in education of the slow down, move over laws is the most important factor. And by education, I don't mean, while they're of good intentions that we have these rallies and rally tow trucks together and do things like the Spirit Ride and other things like that, they're great intentions, and certainly they create some awareness. They're tailored to our industry, and our industry isn't the one that needs to be educated. Our industry should damn well know, and I pardon my French, but I've heard this podcast a few times, and Brad, you slipped up, but damn well know that what the slow down, move over law means. If you're a tow truck operator, you should know what it means, and you don't need to be the one that's educated. The ones we need to educate are the operators that are driving down the road in their cars, talking on their cell phones, looking at their computers, doing different things like that, and distracted driving. We've seen a trend from the most dangerous time to operate a tow truck used to be from 11:30 p.m. until about 2:30, 3 o'clock a.m. And Jeff, I'm sure you can appreciate this. It was for me. And I don't know how many times I dove to the other side of a guardrail during that period at one time or another. You had the drunk drivers on the roads, leaving the bars and out partying on a Friday, Saturday night, Thursday night. And you had to have your head on a swivel or things were going to happen. The most dangerous time now is 11 o'clock in the morning, noontime, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when the guy's driving down the road, getting that text message, looking at his phone, trying to fiddle around and do these things. While smartphones have been an incredible technology advancement, they've been really the worst item our industry could see for the safety of our operators. And that's to the fault of our own operators. So when I say educate people, I mean things like this. Everybody knows when they go to take their driver's license what to do at a railroad crossing, correct or not correct?
Should.
Everybody knows because it's on every driving test that's out there. I'm a strong supporter, and I firmly believe, and I know Bill Byers and others across the country, and a couple of them have made this happen, that the educational process of slow down, move over needs to start when the people start getting their license. The young operators, when they get their driving training certificate or anything else, need to know what that means. And we need to have that railroad crossing question style thing about slow down, move over on every driver exam that's taking place. And it's not only to our benefit, it's the benefit of every first responder or road maintenance person or anything else that's alongside the highway or a freeway just doing their job. And with the way things have evolved, it's become that most important. The second thing is enforcement of the slow down, move over law. And we can raise the fines and do all that, which I think should be done because it should be significant. But we've got to define what slow down, move over is so that the fines, when they're given out, are held up in a court of law and people are convicted for abusing it or don't get their tickets thrown out of court. We need to educate the judges in the court system on what slow down, move over means as well. And I say that because 75% of the tickets that are given out for slow down, move over are thrown out by the judges or nollied. And that's a fact. We've done some information research on that from in Massachusetts from the TIMS committee. And the reason they were thrown out is because the judge is like, well, I don't know. And okay, the guy says he slowed down. Did he really slow down or not? I think the most effective laws that we see that protect our operators are those with defined circumstances, like you must slow down to 20 miles below the posted speed limit or 10 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. So if there's a trooper clocking that car at radar, he can verify, well, this guy wasn't going 45 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone. He was going 60 and he didn't slow down or move over. And I think that then led some fact to the ticket at the end of the day, and people can get convicted of the process.
I want to jump in here for a second. About a year ago, I ended up just happened to end up sitting down and eating breakfast with a local judge. And I started talking to him about slow down, move over. And he said one of his biggest frustrations with it is he knows it's necessary. He knows these tickets should have to stick, but what he's seeing is that the officers just aren't doing a good job of verifying that. You know, how do you verify this person couldn't move over? Unless there's cameras involved and radar involved, you know, it's very difficult to do it. And he just himself, as much as he believes in the law, he finds it very difficult to make these tickets stick. Some people just say, okay, yeah, I did it. I was wrong. Didn't know about it, whatever. They'll admit to it. He said, but when somebody actually tries to fight it and they say, prove it, he has a hard time doing that. So I think it's going to take some technology to make this stuff work. About a year ago, one of our first shows, we had someone on that was claiming to be testing some technology that will help with this. I haven't seen much more about it since. I hope it's moving forward. as far as testing and getting something that works. But I've been saying for years, beating my head against the wall, we're all online, and I say just our industry in general, we're online on the towing pages preaching about slow down, move over. Get off the towing page. Go to another page. Go to your family. When you go to Christmas dinner with your family, talk to them about it. And I do that. I do that a lot. And one of the things I run into is when you start quoting statistics, people outside our industry are like, "You're crazy. That's not happening." They don't know about it, and
Yeah.
it's hard. I've got a family member that is that way, and I don't know if anybody remembers in New Jersey, year and a half ago, we got all up in arms over a broadcaster on the radio. She made a comment along the lines of "slow down and move over is so stupid. There's nobody out there just choosing to drive into a tow truck operator or a state cop." It was after a state cop got hit and killed, and people blew up over that. And then next thing I know, I'm having a conversation with a family member, and they didn't come out and say it that way, but it was that same type of attitude. Slowing down and moving over, how's that going to solve anything? If you're going down the lane and you're working on the other side of the white line, how in the world do they just go sideways and run into somebody, whether it's DOT, police officer, fire, whatever, and they just don't get it. And I feel like I'm pretty well qualified to speak to this subject, and I'm sitting there trying to talk to people and make some sense to them, and I could just see it in their face. They don't believe me. It's like I walk away from the conversation feeling like they thought I was full of it, and I think that's a huge hurdle we have to figure out how to get over, because I know I'm not the only one feeling that way.
Well, and I do think quoting those statistics is very helpful. When you tell people that we lose somebody every 6 days in this industry, there's certainly the folks who truly don't believe it, but most people are just taken aback because they're shocked at that statistic. And if you keep pushing that statistic and you let them know what that works out to be and the lives that are affected, I think you can help the message, but you can only reach so many people as an individual. The other thing is that, slow down, move over, the lack of enforcement, educating ourselves, those are all certainly big challenges. But, I think too that we focus on slow down, move over for the tower, slow down, move over for the tower, maybe even for responders. But really, slow down and move over for any person on the side of the road. I slow down, move over for abandoned vehicles. Just because somebody might be in there getting out or coming around the back of it or whatever it might be. But simplifying the message, maybe adding that miles per hour like Tom mentioned, and getting it part of driver education is important, because we're not allowed to have blue lights. That certainly slows people down. And as the only non-publicly funded entity out there, we can't have all the attenuator trucks and things to protect folks. It'd be nice if we could, but we can't bill for them, so that just doesn't make any sense. And so we've got to find a way to stop this, because most of the deaths we deal with are related to slow down, move over violations.
About 5 years ago, I was at a DOT conference in Savannah, Georgia, and a wife of a fallen police officer spoke at the event, and she said she was letting everybody know that after the death of her husband, who was struck and killed, that she had started a movement and was able to get the slow down, move over law written into Georgia's driving manual for new drivers. I don't know. I haven't seen a manual since then. I guess I should check into it. But when I ask new drivers if they're aware of it, the slow down, they're clueless. So I don't know what happened. I've got a feeling that it didn't get into our manual after all, because no new drivers I talk to even know what I'm talking about. My son found himself in local traffic court last week, and he was happy to see that people were there to fight their slow down, move over tickets. what got him really concerned was finding out that our local solicitor is only fining people $50. And I'm afraid they just don't care. When the law was first passed in Georgia, mid 90s, early 90s, the fine was $500. After the first year, there was so many complaints about this ridiculous law and this ridiculous fine, it was changed to up to $500 at the judge's discretion. So we actually moved backwards. And we've got to turn that around. I mean, when I go to my parents and I drive through upstate New York, there's these giant signs with the penalties for texting and driving. It's, I think, third offense, you lose your license for a year. The fines are pretty high. And that's just for, texting. And I really, I guess one's not worse than the other one, but when you're breaking the law, not slowing down, not moving over, the potential for disaster is there, just like the texting. But for some reason, the texting seems to be taken far more seriously by the solicitors and some of the police departments. And so we've got so much work to do, and arguing about it to each other in a towing room on Facebook, that's not where we need to spend our energy.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And real quick, one more thing. We decided we were going to ask this to every guest we have on the show from this point forward, just to get a few statements, some tidbits that maybe will strike a nerve with some people. But what is, in you guys' opinion, what's the difference between a successful towing company and an unsuccessful towing company?
I'm sure Tom's got an answer, right?
Well, profit is the easy answer, right? You have to be profitable at the end of the day. A lot of guys do this for a hobby. I've seen, and I've had the fortunate experience of being all over the country and all over the world, and in other countries as well, being involved with the industry and working with towing companies and things like that through my career. Too many towers do it as a hobby. You really need to sit down and learn the financial side of the business and what it means to the business, not just driving the tow truck. The money's made with this, not a chain and a hook. It's really on the billing practices, on making sure you get paid for what you're doing, and running profitable business and making the right choices and to chase the right style business, not just any business to fill your shoes. And if you do that, you'll be a successful tower, and you'll enjoy the fruits of the business, which can really, really be rewarding in our industry. And I think that, from my opinion, is the number one difference between a successful company and a non-successful company. If you don't do that, you're not going to be in business long.
So when I hear you say that, what jumps into my head is the problem. The flip side of that, one of the biggest problems are the towers that don't know that they're not profitable.
Yes, absolutely. So many people are running cash flow operations and not businesses. And they're looking at ways to cut costs by insuring trucks as pickups and, all those kinds of things that everybody would certainly frown upon. And I think you have to run your business as a business. You have to run it as something you want to be able to scale. And it takes true leadership, and sometimes that means making decisions you don't want to make. But the evaluation of a business's value by how much cash is in your front right pocket is it's unfortunately prevalent, and it hurts the industry as a whole, because it makes it appear that you can be profitable at much lower rates than actually can be.
Do you see a trait that kind of sticks out more than something else that really is a sign of an unsuccessful, someone who probably isn't going to move forward and grow? Is there one thing that sticks out to you that you see it in a new company, or even a long-time company, or something being passed down through a family, that you're like, that doesn't seem like it's going to work?
Well, I think the ability to know your AR collection practices and to make sure that you get paid at the end of the day, to make sure you have the cash to pay payroll, is a big factor for that. You'll be surprised how many guys and companies I've gone to visit and see and looked at, either for consolidation or acquisition or other things, have no clue what their AR standing is and whether or not people owe money. And I mean, that would be my number one factor. I want to look at that all the time and know how many people owe me money and make sure someone's trying to collect it. That's number one. Number two, one of the biggest fallacies in this business is that you're successful based upon the amount of trucks that you have. That's always been baffling to me. It's always, I see these conversations on Facebook and I very seldom comment, because all you're doing there is starting to fight with just anybody that's on there, but keyboard warriors. But just, if you have the most trucks, you're the most successful company, and that's not the true. I want to do the most business with the least amount of trucks, the least payments, the least insurance, the least fuel, etc. That's efficiency and productivity to me is number one, first and foremost.
COVID has really accentuated that too, because there's a lot of guys who've needed to park trucks during COVID, stop the insurance, park the truck, do those things, and then just don't do it because of pride. And that can be very damaging to a business. And I think we have other shoes to drop that we can anticipate in the coming months as a result of what's happened over the past 6, because there are a lot of people that don't know they weren't profitable before. And it'll take them a while to figure out that this just isn't going to work.
And there's a lot of people that got PPP money to weather the storm right now, and justifiably so. But did they do the right thing with that money? Did they invest it properly? And did they make it use of it for what it was intended for, versus go out and buy a wave runner or a boat or whatever else?
I was going to say, you got to spend on a boat.
Get that new piece of equipment and that they didn't really need, or whatever it may be. Well, when PPP money runs out, you have to go back to doing business, and you have to be able to sustain it. And portion of that money is paid back eventually at the time. I mean, we were fortunate enough at the museum to get PPP money and lending to help sustain the operations of the museum and hold us over for the month while we were closed and things like that. And it's a big benefit to us, but we're tracking it and we put it to use for what it was, and we're moving forward with it and doing all the things. And I hope operators are doing the right things out there as well.
Right on. Easy enough. So real quick, let's give everybody one more chance to jot down all the information.
Yeah,
Towmuseum.com, or any last comments or any, let's reiterate how everybody can reach out to you guys.
I'll go towingmuseum.com. Takes you to our website. Phone number 423-267-3132. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Instagram. We have an Instagram with over 1,000 followers.
All right.
I'll just add that on Facebook, our Facebook account has over 9,800 followers, and yet we have 500 museum members. So, boy, if we could just get half of those people to join the museum, it would be a tremendous thing for the museum. But I'd like to close in saying thank you both for allowing us to talk a little bit about what our passion is and why we're involved in what we're involved in, not just for the museum and the preservation of our history, but for the benefit of the Fallen Drivers Families Fund and what the Wall of the Fallen is all about. It's been a tremendous opportunity. I certainly appreciate it, and I appreciate you having us on today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's people, younger operators in our 20s and 30s that are coming up through the business. We need to take the initiative to get involved now and learn the ropes and be able to make sure that all these great programs push forward. So take that to heart, get involved. We are big proponents of getting involved in everything, state associations, national associations, and the museum and the Survivor Fund and all that are no different. So nothing will change if we don't get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. A lot of great information.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to the Tow Business Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it 5 stars and go back to listen to previous episodes. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and like us on social media. If you have a suggestion or question for the show, please email us at info@towbusinesspodcast.com or send us a message on social media. And remember, there's no business like tow business.